even when, I've read books that I just didn't appeal to me, I think that as a reader, that's what happened to me. It's not the failing of the book necessarily, but it's just how things appeal to me. And so if you're in out of a community or a household where you're kind of open or interested in new ideas, or you're just an inquisitive person, our podcast is for you. You found the right podcast. But if you're, Hey, everybody. This is Kofi Adisa, along with my pals, Sylvia Lee and Laura Yu, and it is another edition of Bookish, a casual book club. And this is our annual summer reads, hopefully not summer fails, at least not for me, but definitely summer reads. And we got a nice taster's choice of readings that we can offer. Who wants to start?
You do.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay. Well, I have 5 books that I'm planning to read, all of which are for my Middle Eastern lit class, but these also seem like really good books. All right, so I'm going to read the synopses very quickly. I'll read the author, title of the book, and then give you the quick and dirty synopsis. The synopsis are brought to you by Claude AI.
Oh, okay.
If you don't like Copilot or ChatGPT-4, try Claude AI. I don't get any money from Anthropic. All right. So Bassam Abdul Aziz's The Cule is a dystopian novel set in an unnamed Arab country after a failed uprising. The story follows Yahya, a young man who needs official permission to have a bullet removed from his body, and other citizens who wait endlessly in a queue outside of a mysterious government building called The Gate. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The second book is Salim Hada's Gupa, and it is set against the backdrop of a political protest and social unrest. The novel examines themes of identity, belonging, sexuality, and the tension between personal freedom and societal expectations in the contemporary Arab world. It's a coming-of-age story that addresses the challenges faced by LGBTQ plus individuals in the Middle East, while also touching on broader questions of political and social change. Hayam's Matar's In the Country of Men is set in 1979 Libya under Muammar Gaddafi's regime, and unfolds through the eyes of a 9-year-old Suleiman. The boy witnesses his world unraveling as political paranoia and repression infiltrate his family life. Isabel Hatmed's Enter Ghost follows Sonia Nasir, a British-Palestinian actress who returns to Palestine to visit her sister. The novel explores themes of homecoming and hauntings, as well as Palestinian Arabic theater traditions, and how theater becomes a form of political expression and personal healing, weaving together Shakespeare's themes of usurped sovereignty and moral corruptions with the contemporary Palestinian experience of displacement and resistance. And lastly, a book that I already read, but it's on the list because I'm going to reread it, Mohsin Hamad's Exit West. It follows Saeed and Nadia, 2 young people who fall in love in an unnamed country descending into civil war. As violence escalates around them, they hear rumors of magical doors that can transport people instantly to other countries. The magical doors come to represent migration and their attention to the human experience of displacement rather than the often dangerous physical journey of refugees. As Saeed and Nadia adapt to new countries and cultures, their relationships evolves and is tested by the stresses of constant relocation and change.
Nice list. Yeah.
I plan to try to read all 5. I know I'm going to read at least 2.
I feel like you'll get through all 5 pretty quickly. Like you have a pretty prodigious pace for reading. So I think that
Thank you.
Fine. I will say you should double check that, because I read recently that in some magazine, I can't remember the name of it, said like the 5 most anticipated books of 2025 or something like that. And the first one, I think it was because the author of the first one was like, oh, great to see my book featured on the Publishers Weekly list of whatever it is. And I said, the problem is I haven't written that book yet.
Oh.
Oh.
What book was that?
I don't remember, but it was like, and then they looked at the list and all the books were fake. They were not actual books, but the authors were real.
Yeah.
Oh, no, these are actual books. These are actually books that I've ordered that are coming from publishers.
Claude did not make them.
No,
Okay.
Claude did not
All right,
make
Claude.
that up.
All right, Claude.
And so, some of them, what I didn't want to do, there's a Middle Eastern professor, and she has this reading list.
Okay.
And so that's where I got the books from.
Okay.
But her synopses are not synopses. They're like
Dissertations?
they're almost like telling you everything about the book.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like,
Spoiler
I don't
alert.
want to, no spoilers.
The one about the magical doors sounds really
Now, that
interesting.
one I read in the Middle Eastern, I'm about to say the medieval, but the Middle Eastern, North African colloquium here at our community college. And we read that a couple of years ago, and it's really good.
Yeah.
That's the book we're going to end with. I think the whole idea of displacement and, the human traveling and sometimes the circus of being a migrant. I think that comes through in the book. So, all right, ladies, I started us off. So
Laura's pointing to me.
Yes.
All right, fine. I have 4 books. I usually leave one as like a wild card because what inevitably happens every year or every few months is I'll go into a bookstore and I'll just pick up a book that looks really interesting. It just happened to me recently. So I'm leaving myself some space for that. But one of the books I'm going to be reading is called Bright Red Fruit by Safia Elhillo. And this is our Bowder Book Connection book for the upcoming year. And so what I typically do in the summers, I try to get a head start and read the book for our Bookish recording. That's usually September when we do that one. That coincides with the Bowder lecture because the author will be here. And 2, I try to kind of get a head start so that I'm not like cramming the book and I can kind of get a sense of what some of our students and faculty and staff will be reading. So I'm looking forward to that. I already kind of started. These books are really fast because these books, as in books that are written in verse, I'm thinking of the Elizabeth Acevedo book as well, or written in verse, that kind of tend to go by a little bit fast. And you have to like maybe go back to a couple to look at them. So there's that one. And this author is also a local author as well, I think located in D.C. or at least grew up in that region. And then the other book I'm reading is a nonfiction book that Kofi read last summer. Was it last summer?
Yep.
By Adrienne Marie Brown called Emergent Strategy. And it's sort of like kind of like one of those self-help books, but not really. It's talking about change and how you adapt to change using ideas that originated from Octavia Butler. And that's kind of what piqued my interest. I was like, oh, okay, I'm curious about that. So I'll be looking at that book over the summer. And the third book, I usually try to read a couple of books of poetry too. And it's one that Laura gave me, which is Bluff by Danez Smith. And I think Laura's going to be reading that too. So we'll have some overlapping things that we can talk about in the upcoming kind of our summer wrap-up reading. And then the last book is a free book, wildcard book, which we'll see. I'm trying to find like a short
You
book.
need a short
Yeah.
win,
Or like a book of short stories. I kind of like reading books of short stories or essays. There's a new book of essays that's coming out by, cannot remember the name of the author, but I was looking forward to it. Is it E.J. Coe? I think it's E.J. Coe. I'm also trying to squeeze in Ocean Vuong's The Emperor of Gladness. Gotta squeeze that in. Although, I don't know, because Ocean Vuong is heavy. Like, it's a little bit, their books are a little bit like, it's a little heavy for me. So we'll see.
So you guys talking about your book selections is making me wonder, like, how is book selection for summer reading same or different than what you choose to read like during the year. I do feel like it's not like during the year I make plans for like, oh, during fall I'm going to read these. But in the summer, even without the podcast, like I do tend to be like, oh, during the summer I want to read these, and I have to choose carefully because I don't want to fail. So what do you think? Like, what are some factors or criteria that goes into choosing these?
Well, I think for a lot of people, like they have a whole thing of beach reads, right? Like a whole like subgenre of beach reads for the summer. And I think I do gravitate towards like books that I can consume a little bit. I know I'm going to be able to consume either at a quicker pace or like on the opposite. That's when I'll choose like the long format, which is what you do, I think, because that's when I can actually sit down and like have that time. But I want a book that will engross me regardless of the situation, like how much stimulus is around me. Like the George Saunders book that's why I picked that one up actually, because I was traveling and I knew like if I was on the plane or whatever in an airport, even though there's a lot of, I'm like very overstimulated, I can like open it up and automatically like go into it. And that's kind of how I pick a book. Like, will this, like, can I just open it up and be like in it versus I have to like, okay, reorient myself. Like some of these fantasy books, they're great at world building, but like I can't remember.
Yeah. Like 5,000 characters.
Exactly. With like weird like names with too many vowels in them. That's kind of how I feel. How about you?
Well, I guess with this one, there's some, there is actual real reasons because I've assigned these books or will be assigning these books for a class. And I would like to actually know what's in the books.
That's helpful. It's helpful to know what you're teaching.
I won't keep going to Claude and say, hey, friend, can you give me a plot summary?
What do you think about possibly like, of course, teachers usually we read the thing that we're going to teach. But like, what about that experience of maybe reading it together for the first time with your students?
Oh, that's interesting.
What do you think that would do?
That would probably make me a little stir crazy because I tend to try to situate the discussion a little bit. And I've seen people pull it off, or I've seen people say they've pulled it off. I think they've done the pre-reading, and then they pretend like they're reading. Okay. Like, oh, this passage is new to me. Like, no, it's not. But I think that for me, at least, it's the preparation. I'm not going to read it like I would do if I was like in a grad class marking it up. I'm really just trying to read it to understand and to see to go through the journey with the characters. And I'll probably like steal certain things for my own creative purposes. But ultimately, that's typically the impetus for this particular. Normally in the summaries, I'm just randomly picking stuff. I don't even have a method. It was like, maybe this book.
And last summer you read a lot of nonfiction.
You did.
Yeah.
Academic adjacent.
Yeah, I was doing a lot of academic adjacent. That's where Emergent Strategy came in.
Yeah.
And her other book, We Will Not Be Canceled, I think was the name of it. Very thin book. And they kind of, those books that deal with ideals and sort of ways of thinking are sometimes interesting to me. I can kind of get through them a little bit quicker because I'm processing a little bit quicker. Whereas with fiction, you do have to remember stuff. And the longer the fiction, the more you have to remember. Because if you like stop for a day, you're like, damn, what was it about again? Where was John situated again? But so you have some books here.
Yes, speaking of long books, right? Like, so I do want to, I tried to pick up a long book over the summer. So I've been wanting to read R.F. Kuang's Babel, but it seems like a lot of remembering as the world building happens, right? So I read her book, Yellowface, and it was really, really interesting. It's a very different kind of book than Babel, but so I decided to not do that because it is, I think, a lot of sort of mental investment in terms of remembering things or sort of being invested in this new world. So I did pick a book, a longish book by Abram Verghese called Cutting for Stone. And it's actually his earlier work. I read Covenant of Water last year, and there was also another big, long, epic, like multi-generational story. And a friend recommended this book, so I'm going to read this one. I'm hoping to. Okay, so this is the mission. I'm going to be at a sitting by the pool for a week for vacation at a resort. So I want to see if I can read this 665-page book
In a week?
In a week.
week.
Sitting at the pool.
Yeah, sitting at the pool.
All right.
Because we hope to do nothing. Like, we're not going to do excursions.
Yeah.
We're just going to sit by the pool. So that's my goal. The other book, as Sylvia mentioned, I want to read Danez Smith's newest collection of poetry called Bluff, and just sort of skimming through it is very interesting. There's a lot of interesting visual things going on in the book. So I'm intrigued. I'm a fan of their work. And if I can manage in terms of time, the last one on my list is Tommy Orange's book, There. This is, I think, is also, it's been published for a while ago, but I hear great things about it. And, it's my attempt to sort of read more of the stories that I don't read often, right, in my repertoire. Like Native American stories is not really, in my reading habits. So I want to read this one. And it sounds like I'm interested in this idea of like 11 different stories, 12 characters, and these stories all sort of coming together somehow. I haven't read it. I don't know if you guys have read it, but so that's my goal. But Cutting for Stone is number one. Like, I want to finish that book. So I can say I read the 665-page book.
One of the things I think our podcast does, if I could give it a humble brag, I think we often try to read things that we normally would not read. And I think that it's a testament to our reading and our ways of reading, and also our ways of thinking through things, to invite those different discourses and different storytellings to sort of shape how we think through just the human situation and even some of our topics. So I wish more people would do that.
Yeah.
I wish do too.
More of our colleagues would do that, if I'm getting more specific.
Speaking of, Abram Verghese is a doctor, and he recently gave a commencement speech at Harvard, I think this year, just recently. And so he was sort of on social media, and he talked about the diversity, right, of like what America, the ideals of America afforded someone like him in an immigrant family. So, you're mentioning that, it reminded me of that, the importance of diversifying our reading. Yeah. I mean, I know people we do turn to reading for comfort, right? Or leisure, or, whatever, distraction. And there are different ways to do that. But one of the functions of reading is to like learn, like, I don't know, like open the pages and enter a world that you've never seen, right? Yeah.
It's to understand. I mean, we kind of talked about this in our Effed Up Reads episode, where why would anybody gravitate towards a book that is fundamentally effed up, right? And or otherwise, and it really is to understand. I think there's a saying like, in understanding the other, you understand yourself. Sure. A little. And I think that really is the thing that brings the humanities like value that you can't easily replace with AI, because AI can oftentimes become this sort of like echo chamber of things that have already existed. But when you look at really the diverse selection of readings that we have here, both in genre, in subject, in authorship, in a lot of these form, I think it really does expand the mind and expands our tolerance for things that make us uncomfortable. And I think that's, for me, what's really challenging that I notice in a lot of people, why in some ways we've, as a country, people are finding more, I was listening to this podcast about the rise of like fundamentalist religion, where people thought that would kind of go away, but it's actually having a resurgence because people gravitate in times where things are really ambiguous, things are really unclear. You're grappling with questions of like race and ethnicity and sexuality in ways that we haven't done before, mental health, all this stuff. that people are actually, it's so much ambiguity and so much kind of cognitive dissonance that they're gravitating more towards black and white binary ways of thinking.
Right.
Because there's comfort in structures like that. But the result is, you know.
Right. They often lead to a kind of repressive and regressive way of doing things.
Yeah.
And so, I think that one of the things, even when, I've read books that I just didn't appeal to me, I think that as a reader, that's what happened to me. It's not the failing of the book necessarily, but it's just how things appeal to me. And so if you're in out of a community or a household where you're kind of open or interested in new ideas, or you're just an inquisitive person, our podcast is for you. You found the right podcast. But if you're, trying to inch your way into it and try to find a space, I know that could be very daunting, especially, for people who have been putting a lot of energy in certain types of disciplines. So if you're into economics, are you really going to read there and try to and not see it through the prism of economics, And so maybe for some people, it could be just they want to do more reading. I hear this all the time. I would love to read more, but I don't know where I should go. Start with a library, or maybe even go to a bookstore. But it's sometimes it's just that. So the summertime, I think, is the best time to try to get out and do a lot of reading. Even if it's just one book, you don't have to necessarily read 5 or 10. You could just start with one book and start with a genre that you like. Could be Westerns, it could be fantasy. I've never been into fantasy that much, but I could see people doing it during the summer. Don't do any heavy books during the summer.
Well, unless you're Laura. Then you read A Little Life.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Which I think. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say that book has a cult following on like social media, and every time that one comes up, I'm in there reading comments about how traumatized everyone was.
Well, I think something about the summer too, and I don't know if it's because I've become so used to like the faculty life where the summers are quieter, and even as like an administrator, summers still are in some ways quieter. But I just find like the mental space is different in the summer, right? I don't know if it's because like somewhere out there, whether you have kids or not, like school's out, like things just you have some time. The long summer days, I feel like, invite some time to just think a little bit. It's slower, feels slower in your mind. And I think that that's a value that you can start in the summer to pick up a book you might not have thought to pick up before. Maybe one of the books we mentioned, right? And you have that sort of mental and space to sort of do that, whether you're going to be at the pool, whether you're going to be working, whether you're on a commute, listening to an audiobook. I feel like that there's just something about that mental space that slows down.
And in trying to enter a world that you're unfamiliar with through a book, I recently had a fail. I picked up this book called Detransition, Baby. I think there was a comma after detransition. And first of all, I had not known anything about even this idea of detransitioning, when people transition and then go back. I guess go back is, I don't know if that's an appropriate way to describe that. But, and it's a novel. And I really wanted to know about this, right? And I've been trying to read this book for the last several months. I keep putting it down.
Is it a novel?
Pick it back up. And usually I plow through books, even if I don't love it, just to finish it. And I'll skim it or just get to the end. I don't know, 2/3 of the way through, I stopped. And now I know about a concept that I had not known about, but this story didn't work for me. And so I hear that word now sometimes in the news or social media or something like that. So it introduced me to a world, but the book itself didn't work for me. So I've given up. And I guess that's okay. I felt bad giving it up, right? Like I wanted to see it through, but I didn't even want to find out what happened at the end. I didn't even try the ending. I don't know if anyone out there read the book and tell me otherwise,
Yeah, I think it's good that, I've given up that feeling of failure if I don't finish a book. It still lingers, but sometimes you just go, this isn't for me.
That's right.
I gave it a good try, and it's like there's been plenty of books I would read, especially during graduate school. They would say, "Oh, this is a great book," and I would say the same thing, knowing I've only read like a third of it. Yeah, I can see why it's great. And then that level of guilt because you want to feel like you're in the know. But sometimes it's that Jodi Picoult book, Misery, and it was miserable for me to read it.
That was me maybe that is another episode. Like, what's a book that you really didn't like that you should have liked? Like, for all intents and purposes, you should like. For me, as an English major, like that was supposed to be V.S. Naipaul for some reason. Yeah, and I just did not. I was like, ew, no, thank you. Yeah, I don't know why. It's not that the book was not. The book was easy to read in the sense that it was very engaging. The
Which
technique.
book was it?
See?
Was it The House of Mr. Biswas?
Yes, that plus another one too. This person made me read a lot of Naipaul because apparently I was supposed to like that as an English major. I did not.
Right.
I did not. So yeah.
Okay, that's a good idea for future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder though, is it because someone said if you came to it on your own?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Because I find when people do that, I'm like, okay, now I'm going to be skeptical.
Yeah.
Because I don't trust your attention to detail or something,
Yeah. I felt that way about Wordsworth as well when I first started. Wordsworth was supposed to be, he's Wordsworth. His words were not worth a whole lot to me.
Yeah, it's like the lyrical ballads and all of that.
Yes.
Yeah. The romantics.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Samuel Coleridge, all that.
Coleridge. Anyways.
Yeah. I was an 18th century person into the 19th century. So that a lot of that overlaps when you talk about the long 18th century. But yeah.
Well, I'm curious what our summer reading adventures will produce this time. Every year, you just cannot tell.
No. Yeah. I think there's going to be a lot of successes.
Yeah.
I think so, too.
I'm predicting success.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps us up for this episode. Curious to know what our listeners are going to be reading this summer, whether they'll be reading along with us. So please, drop a comment or a like on Facebook or on Podbean or wherever you get your podcasts, and tune in and let us know if you are reading along with us, what you're reading or what you want to hear us talk about, and we'd be happy to oblige. This has been Kofi, Laura, and Sylvia for Bookish Summer Reads Edition.
Happy reading.
Happy reading, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Dragon Podcast. You can find this episode and all other Howard Community College podcasts available for your listening pleasure on all streaming platforms, as well as Podbean at podbean.com/Dragon Podcast. Thank you for listening.